Brooklyn Beckham's ex-girlfriends are breaking their silence, and what they're revealing might flip the whole brand Beckham image upside down. They're claiming there was control, pressure, and even warnings to stay quiet before sharing what really went down behind closed doors. These women from Brooklyn's past are shaking up the Beckham family's carefully polished reputation. While everyone was already stunned by the public tension between Brooklyn, his wife Nicola Peltz, and his famous parents David and Victoria Beckham, this new twist is even darker. The stories spilling out now suggest something way deeper than just a family feud. They hinted control, manipulation, and emotional pressure that went far beyond what fans ever imagined. This isn't just some drama about a wedding or a clash between Nicola and Victoria. No, it's about control, silence, and what supposedly happens when someone steps too close to the Beckham inner circle.
I think that Brooklyn made the right decision in coming out with his statement. It became too much for him.
And according to several of Brooklyn's exes, this didn't just start when Nicola came into the picture. It's been brewing for years. They say the cracks started long before the flashy wedding, before the cryptic Instagram post, and before Brooklyn publicly distanced himself from his parents. The first whispers came from someone almost everyone had forgotten, a girlfriend from Brooklyn's teenage years. She's now come forward, and her story raises serious questions about just how tightly managed Brooklyn's world really was. She paints a picture of a young Brooklyn Beckham already drowning in fame, anxious, restless, and feeling like he was under a spotlight 24/7. Paparazzi weren't just popping up from time to time, they were everywhere, almost every single day. What really freaked her out wasn't just how often they showed up, it was how exactly they knew where to find him.
His parents didn't protect him from the public eye. He was in the public eye before he was even born. They included him in brand Beckham. I could see that he would get visibly distressed and anxious. I do know that there were paparazzi like pretty much every day. Somebody would have been organizing that who knew his schedule inside out. So you can think about who that might be that would know that.
His daily plans, his routes, his habits, nothing seemed private. This wasn't some lucky guess by photographers. Someone clearly had inside info on his every move. When she was asked if that information could have come from his parents, the people who had total access to his schedule, she didn't say yes, but she didn't say no either. She just froze, staying completely silent, and that silence said more than words ever could. And here's the wild part. She's not the only one saying this. Another ex, who spent nearly a full year wrapped up inside the Beckham family world, backed up the same story, only hers cuts even deeper. During their relationship, she wasn't just dating Brooklyn, she was living the Beckham lifestyle. She was front row at fashion shows, rocking Victoria's designs, joining luxury family vacations, and getting close with Brooklyn's younger siblings like she was already part of the clan. To the public, it looked like a perfect love story, glamorous and picture-perfect. But behind those smiles, she says things were falling apart fast. The tension wasn't just between her and Brooklyn, it ran straight through his family too. According to her, those cracks were already there long before Nicola Peltz ever showed up in the picture.
So that's what I try to teach my kids, but you have to sometimes let them make those mistakes as well.
When she finally thought about speaking out, not to drag anyone, not to stir up drama, but just to tell the truth about what life inside that world was really like, she says she got messages warning her to stay quiet. Not friendly advice, not gentle reminders, straight-up warnings. The message was crystal clear: keep silent or face the consequences. It shook her so much that she pulled back completely, and her story disappeared before anyone ever heard it. That is, until now. According to people close to her, what she wanted to share would have flipped the public story upside down. Everyone thought the Beckham family tension started with Nicola Peltz, but her version paints a whole different picture. She claims Brooklyn had been struggling for years, feeling like an outsider long before he ever said "I do" to Nicola. And here's where it really gets unsettling, because once you start hearing multiple ex-girlfriends from totally different chapters of Brooklyn's life describing the same exact patterns, pressure, control, silence, and a carefully curated image, it stops sounding like random chance. It starts looking like a system, something deeply built in.
So we have 4 dogs, and the way she treats them, I feel like you're going to be the most amazing mum with our kids.
Oh, I love you.
That. Yeah.
But the most jaw-dropping part, there was reportedly a plan to stop a major expose before it ever went public. One of Brooklyn's former girlfriends was allegedly gearing up to drop a tell-all interview, not a hit piece, but her first-hand account of what she'd seen from the inside. She wanted to talk about the real family dynamics, the hidden tension, and how certain stories were managed before the public ever saw them. But just before the interview could happen, it was shut down completely. Why did she back out? Well, insiders say the pressure got real. She reportedly received messages warning her not to get indiscreet, messages that made it crystal clear that if she spoke out, there'd be consequences. It wasn't worth the risk, and just like that, silence became the safest move. What's wild is that this same pattern is exactly what Brooklyn himself has accused his parents of doing. In his explosive public statement, Brooklyn claimed his parents had been controlling the storylines in the press for as long as he can remember. He said news was planted, appearances were all for show, and that keeping the family image spotless came at the cost of genuine relationships. Now his ex-girlfriends are echoing the same thing, but from the outside looking in. They're saying this tight grip on image didn't just happen behind the scenes, it shaped their lives too.
But what I've found personally, especially with my kids as well, use it for the right reasons. Yeah. I've been able to use my platform and my following, for UNICEF. Yeah. And it's been the biggest tool to make people aware of what's going on around the world for children. And I've tried to do the same. I've tried to do the same with my children to educate them.
But it doesn't end there, because while Brooklyn's exes are daring to uncover pieces of the past, Nicola Peltz seems to be playing her cards very differently. She's not giving interviews or dropping statements, she's moving silently, but strategically. Her weapon of choice? The like button. Nicola has been quietly liking comments that hint Brooklyn had every reason to distance himself from his famous parents, comments suggesting his decision wasn't impulsive, but necessary. Some even claim she's backing messages that imply Brooklyn finally found peace, support, and real love outside the Beckham bubble. Each like might seem tiny, but together they speak volumes. It's like she's saying, we're not lying, there's more to this story, and we're done pretending. And the timing of those online moves, that's what's really catching attention. Whenever Victoria Beckham gets a major public honor or big career spotlight, suddenly Brooklyn and Nicola drop sweet couple videos or romantic posts showing off their united front. To some, it looks like love, but to others, it looks like a silent rebellion. And this is where the public starts to split. While Brooklyn paints himself as the hurt son finally breaking free and speaking his truth, critics say his whole approach has actually backfired. Instead of tearing down the Beckham image, some think he's made it even stronger, showing the world just how powerful, controlled, and unshakable that brand really is.
Victoria Beckham especially has built a reputation for her discipline, her precision, and her unbreakable control over her image. She's not just a designer or a pop icon, she's the definition of calculated composure. So for many fans, Brooklyn's accusations didn't expose some hidden truth, they confirmed what people already suspected. But this time there's a twist, because it's not only Brooklyn speaking out anymore, it's also the women who were there before Nicola Peltz ever entered the picture. These are the exes who have nothing to gain and everything to lose, the ones who stayed quiet for years until now. And if even a fraction of what they're hinting at is true, then this whole Beckham family feud isn't some sudden blow-up. It's the result of years of quiet tension, control, and pressure piling up until the silence finally cracked. And insiders say the most shocking revelations, they still haven't even hit the surface yet. What makes this situation so explosive isn't just what's already been said, it's what hasn't been. Because even with all these bold claims, the warning messages, the canceled interviews, and the exes speaking out, one thing stands out loud and clear. The Beckham family hasn't offered any detailed response, no direct rebuttal, no explanation, just silence. And that silence is starting to sound louder than words. The Beckham family's response hasn't been loud, it's been quiet, calculated, and strategic. Instead of firing back or getting emotional, they've kept things sleek and professional, leaving supportive comments under friends' posts, showing public loyalty to their longtime circle, and making sure every appearance screams stability, tradition, and strength. No emotional rants, no messy clapbacks, just pure, icy control. One of the clearest examples came when David Beckham publicly backed a close family friend, the very same person who'd been mentioned in Brooklyn's wedding allegations. The message couldn't have been clearer. The alliances are still solid, and the inner circle isn't breaking anytime soon. To some people, it looked like pure class, grace under pressure. But to others, it came off as a quiet but powerful move, a subtle reminder that the Beckhams still run their empire with precision and authority. And that's where the tension really starts to heat up, because if Brooklyn and Nicola are setting themselves up as the truth tellers, the ones breaking free and calling things out, then the Beckhams are clearly taking the opposite role, the calm, composed figures who refuse to get messy in public. They're presenting themselves as the unshaken institution, the grown-ups in the room who stay silent while the storm rages around them. But here's the real reason that silence matters. Insiders claim it's not about ignoring gossip, it's about setting a precedent. If even one of Brooklyn's exes speaks openly and isn't stopped, it could open the floodgates. Others might start coming forward, and suddenly the carefully crafted mythology of Brand Beckham could be rewritten, not by journalists or tabloids, but by the very people who lived it firsthand. That's why those alleged warning messages to ex-girlfriends carry so much weight. These weren't random online rumors. These were real women with real experiences who seriously thought about speaking up and then backed off. And according to insiders, at least one of them didn't stay quiet out of loyalty to Brooklyn, but because she felt something far bigger was at play. It wasn't just about loyalty, it was about fear. Fear of what could happen if they spoke out. We're talking legal threats, reputation damage, being cut off from powerful social circles. And when you're up against one of the most influential celebrity families in the world, that kind of pressure doesn't even need to be said out loud. It just exists. The message doesn't have to read, "Don't talk," because the silence already feels like the safest option. That's what makes Brooklyn's position so tricky, because reports don't all line up. Some say the pressure came from people connected to him, while others claim he actually pushed back against attempts to lock his exes into silence. There were even rumors about an NDA being brought to the table and refused. If that's true, it paints Brooklyn as being caught right in the middle, torn between staying loyal to his powerful parents and protecting the women who once stood by him. People close to him say this inner conflict isn't new at all. They insist it's been bubbling inside him for years, long before Nicola, long before marriage, even long before the public drama online. Brooklyn has always been seen as the odd one out in the Beckham lineup, not in a scandalous way, but as someone who never quite fit the Beckham's polished mold. His father, the football icon, his mother, the fashion powerhouse, their brand, flawless, organized, and perfectly built. But Brooklyn? He's always seemed to be searching for his lane, trying out photography, diving into cooking, experimenting with creative projects, anything to carve out an identity that wasn't just another extension of Brand Beckham.
Every move Brooklyn made got picked apart. Every project, every photo, every step compared to the legendary Beckham standard. And when success didn't come fast enough, the pressure only cranked higher. Now imagine adding relationships into that kind of environment. It wasn't just love anymore, it was living under a microscope. Every girlfriend who came into Brooklyn's world wasn't just dating a guy, she was stepping straight into a global brand. Every argument could turn into a public headline. Every emotional moment risked becoming a PR problem. Some girlfriends handled it like pros, some couldn't take the heat, and others, years later, are now saying that what looked glamorous and picture-perfect from the outside was actually full of pressure, tension, and discomfort on the inside. And that brings everything back to Nicola Peltz, because her role in this entire saga is different from any woman before her. Nicola didn't just grow up near fame, she was born into power. Her family is already rooted in extreme wealth and influence, meaning they don't need celebrity approval or the Beckham name to feel important. That alone flipped the power dynamic completely. For the first time, Brooklyn wasn't the one bringing prestige into the relationship. He was marrying into a family that couldn't be controlled by access, favors, or reputation management. And that, according to people watching closely, is where things started to truly fracture. Nicola didn't just become Brooklyn's wife, she pulled him out of the system where the Beckhams had always set the rules. And once that happened, all the old tensions that had been quietly buried started to rise again. This time, there was no smooth PR fix or friendly photo op to patch things up. That's why every little thing Nicola does online, even something as small as a like or a subtle caption, is being studied so closely. Because people believe those tiny moves are saying way more than words ever could. Nicola isn't shouting or pointing fingers. She's doing something much smarter. She's validating. She's quietly backing Brooklyn's choices, hinting that maybe things behind those glamorous doors weren't as perfect as everyone thought. Every subtle move she makes, every liked comment, every post that seems perfectly timed, every moment she skips a Beckham family event, it all sends the same powerful message. Something deeper is going on. To critics, her behavior feels calculated, like she's playing the long game. But to her supporters, it looks like loyalty, like she's standing by her husband and his truth. Either way, it's working. Because every one of her quiet moves keeps fueling one haunting question. What are they hiding from us? Now fans are going back through the archives, rewatching old interviews, reanalyzing red carpet moments, and scrolling through those once perfect family photos. Moments that used to seem warm and genuine now look a little too polished, too rehearsed. What once felt spontaneous suddenly feels staged. And that's the real danger when silence starts to crack. It doesn't just change the present, it rewrites how people see the past. For the Beckhams, that's a serious problem. Their entire legacy isn't just built on fame, it's built on image, on being the polished, united, untouchable family that always kept things together no matter what. And when that image starts to wobble, even a little, it threatens everything they've built. Still, not everyone's taking Brooklyn's side. Some believe he went too far airing private family drama, especially when it involved sensitive wedding allegations. Others say his timing made it seem more emotional than genuine, like it came from anger, not reflection. And then there are those who think Brooklyn didn't tear the Beckham brand down at all, he made it stronger. Because even now, after all the noise, the rumors, and the chaos, the Beckham name still stands tall, unshaken, and louder than ever. But here's what makes this moment different from every Beckham controversy before. This one doesn't just fade after a few headlines. This time, it's personal, painfully personal. It's not about gossip or PR anymore. It's about real relationships that might be broken beyond repair. A son and his famous parents who reportedly don't even speak anymore. A marriage that seems to be standing in quiet defiance of a powerful family empire, and ex-girlfriends who, according to whispers, may still be holding on to untold stories. The silence around it all doesn't feel peaceful, it feels tense. And the longer that silence lingers, the more people start asking the same chilling question: who's really benefiting from it? Brooklyn has made it clear he's not looking to make peace, at least under the old rules. Nicola, on her end, seems totally aligned with that choice, standing by him and keeping the boundary firm. Meanwhile, the Beckhams, staying true to their signature style, are refusing to play the emotional game in public. No interviews, no statements, just that signature Beckham silence. Calm, polished, and powerful. So now, the world's left wondering, what happens next? Will one of Brooklyn's exes finally come forward and tell everything in full detail? Will someone close to the family decide to go on record? Will Brooklyn take his story beyond social media and lay it all out? Or will the silence win again, protecting the dynasty one more time? Because if history's taught us anything, it's that brand Beckham always survives. They've weathered scandal after scandal and still come out shining. But this time, the storm isn't from tabloids or outsiders, it's coming from inside the family. And once that door has been cracked open, it's almost impossible to shut it again. If you found this story wild, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment below. Let's talk about what you think is really going on behind the Beckham curtain.